I know it. Afternoon. Okay, are we on Wednesday? We are.
Yes.
We're on Wednesday. Hump day.
Good
got
afternoon,
it.
Commissioner.
Yeah, hump day at school. I used to have yeah. Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I know we have a budget schedules for later. Mike Moss, Public Services Director, but we do like to go through 5 items before we move over to the budgets if possible.
Sure.
Transfer station update. We've been working on the wait times at the transfer station for quite a while with the waste control. A few of us have got phone calls over the last 6 months of the wait times there, sometimes up to 3.5 hours for a commercial trailer to actually get through the transfer station. We think we overcame a large hurdle there this last week. Waste Control expanded their floor space in that area near the conveyor belt. They've actually ended up taking a wall out and have almost doubled the space in the floor. So
Really?
their Packer trucks would go on the north end and the commercial trailers and dump trucks go on the south end. And the wait times drastically dropped over the weekend, including Sunday, there was some issues with conveyor belt, but Monday it was down to about 17 minutes. They said for trailer traffic. As a staff, we want to make sure that was true. So we were there the last 2 mornings to watch. And the longest I saw yesterday is like 23 minutes. This morning, there was no trailers in line when I arrived. And the ones that did show up after a while went directly through with no issues at all. And the Packer trucks, which they used to share the space with, they were like 7, 8, 9 deep on the north end. So there was no confusion at all. It's Packer trucks on this end, commercial trailers on that end, and they were flowing through really quickly. So I did make a few phone calls to the people who've called us with complaints, which I agree with, and asked them for their feedback, and I have not heard back from them yet, but I'll make sure I keep you up to speed.
Trying to picture, you driving there, what wall did they?
Where they used to put the green waste.
The very first one.
Yep.
They took that wall out.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's really something that's pretty easy. Maybe it should have been done earlier, but here we are. We also
I kept looking at it. You know how you go in and the wall on, I guess it'd be on the east side.
Correct.
Even if they could expand that out, give them a little more
towards the river side.
Yeah, toward the river, to the river. But
yeah,
if that wall does it, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we get Sean gets the times daily or weekly from them, so we'll monitor the times, but we'll also do spot checks like we've done the last 2 days to continue that. And I'm sure we'll also hear from the citizens if it goes back to the way it was before. We still want to make it better. So there's a few things we're trying to do with Public Works on the north end of the county, the Toutle transfer or the Toutle drop box. We'd like to have residential trailers. They're not allowed at that drop box, but we're going to make it so they're allowed to put the residential trailers at Toutle, which will create less traffic also at the transfer station. When the boxes are full at the Toutle drop box, they're required to bring those boxes for like their 30 or 40-yard boxes down to the transfer station before they go to the landfill. Well, Tootle's pretty close to the landfill, so we're going to let them do a direct haul from the Toutle drop box to the landfill, which will help reduce traffic there. And also the Packer trucks, are what comes to your house and picks up your garbage can. The ones in North County, we're going to let them go directly to the landfill, which will also help traffic down here. So we'll try to help them out from our side, but also with that wall being removed, it really drastically helped the times on their side. So between these improvements, we're hoping that the complaints will go away. If they come back up, we'll go to Plan B.
So I usually hook up my trailer when I do a dump run and then stack everything in, so I'd be able to go to Toutle now?
Yeah, correct. There's no commercial traffic at Toutle, so as long as it's a residential, they're allowed to dump there with a trailer. Yeah. We're going to start that this Saturday.
I guess I've been under the impression that the landfill traffic itself is pretty backed up. Is that, you're not going to cause a problem for the Packer trucks?
They go to a different spot. So the Packer trucks will have their own little road. That's called a ground truck road, which are by the lifts. So we are backed up usually first thing on the mornings. You're correct. There might be a couple hour wait at the landfill because we usually have 25 to 30 trucks show up at once for 3 tippers. So those trucks do have to wait, but the Packer trucks just push it out the back side. So they don't get on those lifts. So they have a road to the side into the face that they'll be able to dump on directly. We talked to our staff up there. They're excited to have a few Packer trucks directly haul in because in the mornings we get a lot of mail waste in, and they like the MSW mixed in with it. So they're happy to have a few trucks that come directly off the routes to drop up there.
Okay,
So,
hopefully it works.
yeah, we're cross our fingers, but the first 3 days were very, very happy with the changes they made down there. Like I said, we'll continue to monitor it. But
Good.
we'll give you a
Well-
report in the next couple of weeks to see if it continues.
Where will people pay if they go straight to Tootle?
It had to be an account only. It's for,
Okay.
yeah. So actually the Tootle drop box is cash by Drew's, but when they go to the landfill, it's set up by account only. So, and it's for the 53-foot trailers. So it's, our Lewis County Waste, Pacific County, Arc Waste, Mason County, those companies, or those counties come to our facility. So we still aren't taking residential garbage to the landfill. It just goes to the Tootle drop box. So that's a cash
To
only.
the Tootle drop box and I just pay at Drew's.
They pay at that,
But
there's two
by
waste
Drew's.
control
Okay.
employees at the Tootle drop box that takes the money there.
But it's per load. It's not, they're not weighing them.
They are not, no scales there. It's by load, by garbage can or by load. Mhm.
So, and for the landfill, are the Packer trucks gonna go across the scale?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like good progress.
Yeah, it does. We thought we made a good headway early this year. We jinxed ourselves. Here we are.
Yeah, but at least I appreciate you keep working on it.
No
Yeah,
problem.
keep looking.
Yeah,
Very much.
we'll keep you updated. Thanks.
Okay, Savannah Clement, Public Services. I just wanted to give my weekly Hall of Justice update. We are officially in construction in the building now. So today was day one of actually being in the basement and starting construction, and DEM has moved, so they're our first move. And that went pretty well from what I understand. I got an update this morning. Our next big moves will be next week. One of our largest departments, which is the clerk's office, just to refresh the board and the community, they'll be actually moved out for the duration of the project. So they won't be moving back into their space until May or earlier of next year. So that's actually happening next week as well. And our Superior Court admin staff, they'll be moving down to the first floor. So all of that happens next week. So it was a nice test run this week to try to encounter maybe any potential issues, maybe some planning things that we could do differently. And so we actually met with the courts this morning for our normal meeting and kind of passed off some of that communication and lessons learned to them so that they can be prepared for their move next week. So big things happening. One thing that was not planned for, that we will plan for probably around the holidays, is our emergency panel shut off. And so that emergency panel, just so you guys are aware, it powers 911, records, sheriff, so our 24-hour emergency divisions. And we actually need to do a new install of a transfer switch. So we're going to plan for that in the future. There'll be a lot of communications on it. And like I said, I think we anticipate that being in December when it's a little bit quieter, maybe more shutdown days to do that. But it will only be power off to our emergency generator powered items. So.
Savannah, real
Yeah.
quick on that topic, has IT communicated with you with regards to our ability to communicate emergencies to our employees?
Yes. Did reach out to Mike Bamford, stopped me after the kickoff meeting, and then reached out to him via email to coordinate. Mike was on that call. We've got him in connection with our representative from Alertus to get the ball rolling and understanding what system we have over there. We use it at Public Works and we maintain it as far as doing the quarterly testing. I want to say demonstration. Their quarterly testing on that and the messaging system. So we had a little bit of knowledge, but as far as the, on how to implement it and keep it updated, it's definitely, more of the IT realm. So we got them in touch with our rep there. So I'm hoping that's moving forward. That was just yesterday. So we're going to get something going there so that we have that ability. So yes.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Has there been any discussion about getting the snack bar on backup power? so that It
Yes.
doesn't spoil all
Yeah.
the food when the power goes out.
Lesson learned there. Interestingly enough, the cafe is powered off of the same panel that our third floor jail, one of our ductless heating cooling units. which is very strange when you're saying a first floor run to a third floor run, and it wasn't labeled, so we weren't unaware that the cafe was going to go offline. Kelly also brought that up in we have a lot of meetings, in our meeting yesterday with Millig to make sure that that does not happen moving forward. And Jason is also now aware, so we know. One of our, sub projects to this project as a staff is to make sure that we have identified and tracked and marked our power sources, because that is not a thing right now, and we're feeling that. So that will also happen too, so we can avoid that moving forward. Along the same lines, we're still working out hotel planning. Our next big department is the sheriff's office and the prosecuting attorney's office. Meeting with them. I have a walkthrough with Kelly and facility staff with PA's office for the annex building tomorrow. So with that, annex, I think it's a desirable empty building that's been recently updated. And so we do have a lot of department interest, and we've already started having requests made for use of that space. And I wanted to just explain to the board my intent of copying you guys on the email with Noxious Weeds was just to make sure it's the first time we've had a request under this new policy. And I know there's been a lot of conversation of making sure that we are presenting the board with policy and procedure so you guys are aware. And so that was my intent in copying you, so that everybody knew and was on the same page of how that's supposed to work. Unfortunately for Noxious Weeds, they're like the first one to do it. And so we're just kind of offline, talked to Jennifer yesterday again, and we went over the procedure. I think we'll probably, after it goes to the committee, come back to the board and talk it out about their wanting to go back to that space on that first floor. So more to come on that.
And is that during the hoteling or after the project?
They would like to have it, yesterday. I did explain, I said we've been trying to keep people at bay. We don't have a preference, who's there as far as a facility standpoint goes. But we've been trying to keep people, and telling them nobody can move in until we're done with this project, because it is a really great space on network, has its own offices, is secure, has a lobby. We don't have another space like that that's vacant. And so we've been really pushing people off. And I know that Jennifer's and Noxious Weed Board, they have a window of time, right? Their growing season, they're preparing for that. And so they would really like to get in there, I think, before or in February, but we may need that space beyond that. And so that's where we're at, kind of in the middle of saying, no, you have a right to do this process. Here's the forms, here's how you do it. But please know, we have to pause on it. At least I'm saying to everybody, June of 26. So just so that you guys are aware, after that, it's totally up to the board. So.
And long-term, we don't know the best use of that facility, if it's another department taking over the entire facility, or if we're gonna, if no one goes there, do we lease it out to an outside organization or company where they take over, it's easier for us to rent out a full floor than half floors. So we have to keep that in mind down the road also.
I think we have some actual viable options and choices with regards to departments that we have in other buildings that we could move into a building that we own, maybe sell another building. So there's definitely options for us, I think, that look good.
I'll just roll, unless you guys have any other questions about the Millig Hall of Justice project. Okay. I had started talking to the board a year ago now about a grant opportunity for the HVAC project, specific to our audit of the building, which was our energy audit that we first started that Millig project off with. We started off with this audit, which we had to pay for. But because the audit included a lot of energy efficiencies and looking at use and square footage, it also qualified for the Clean Buildings Performance Act or statute that the state put in place a couple years ago. So anyway, we just got word last week that we were approved for that grant. So that'll be $98,000 that the county was approved for to help pay for that. So it's a lot of money that we're paying for this project, but at least, we do have some grant funding that's coming through that will help on the revenue side. So just sharing that. That'll come through the board probably in the next week or two on a Tuesday.
Meeting schedule. So as you know, we meet every Wednesday at 1:30, and there's been talk about possibly moving the day. So we want to talk about an open session here. And if you want to see us every Wednesday, or if you want to see us every other Wednesday, or if it's every other Tuesday at 1:30, it's been talked about. And have other departments take that time slot if we go every other week, or if you want to meet us maybe one-on-one with more detail on specific job or projects, or just keep this status quo. When Kelly brought up that we possibly could be moving from a Wednesday to a Tuesday, we thought that might be the right time to talk to you. If what we're doing is correct, if this is what you want to see from us, or if you're seeing us too much, you want to see us every other week, gotta leave that up to the discussion.
I'm open to anything, but I think that if you guys are already gonna be here for certain issues on Tuesday for efficiency and you guys not making trips multiple times a week, you're already here on Tuesday, I'm good with doing it on Tuesday. The frequency of that, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
In talking to Kelly, I don't think we'd make any kind of change until after the first of the year anyway. So we have time to kind of see how it's working out, just putting it on your radar, not radar, but radar.
Most weeks we have agenda items, but certain weeks, depending on our schedules and what's going on in the office, we hate calling it a last minute also and say, hey, Kelly, we have only one agenda item. We don't want to waste your time, especially when you guys don't have a 2:30 behind us. And plus you're staying a whole nother day here. So maybe Tuesday makes the most sense. You guys for sure are in the office already on Tuesdays in case you have other obligations on a Wednesday. So just put that in your mind. We can talk more because it's like Savannah said, it's the first quarter of next year.
Yeah. I was just trying to think how many times you cancel, and it's really not that many times.
it's
I think I just
Maybe?
keep it weekly, and when you have those days, just cancel them.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, we just don't want to disappoint you if we cancel last minute or anything. so.
We also know that there's not any other public workshop other than ours and the one to follow. So a lot of departments, and it's fine. Sheriff's office, if they need to jump on, maybe there's a week that it's an open week and we're not on for presentation, but maybe another department would like that. I don't know. So.
Yeah, if we know ahead of time that we're pretty light that week, we could reach out to other departments and see if they have any items they want to bring at that 1:30 workshop. Okay, great. Thank you.
Facade update. I did send the board out an email. It was a really informal assessment with a better one to follow, but I just wanted to bring that up today to see if you guys had any questions after reviewing that.
Well, even the informal one didn't look good.
No,
I don't even want to see the formal one.
Yeah.
It's gonna
yeah.
have a lot of dollar signs attached. to
I
it.
looked at it and I just started going, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah. It's another kind of, not example, but, we're dealing with maybe some poor construction decisions that were made in the caulking and the way they installed those windows, and maybe it was the cheaper route or whatever, but, some lessons moving forward from a facilities staff and how these projects are managed and making sure that those things are checked and hashed out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if a piece of that fell and hit somebody, I don't want to be in the Darwin pages.
no. No. So we will be leaving that scaffolding up. Obviously, we're going to follow all their recommendations. And so that, it's not pretty, but it is more safe. So it will be staying up through
Begs the
winter.
question, again, if they could, and I know we're a historical building, if they could use like a lighter, you know what I mean? a
Mhm,
lighter
like a
product,
product, yeah.
give it the same look or something instead of having cement fall.
If you cut the weight by 90% and it fell, it's still gonna do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Well, it's still gonna, it's still,
If it hits somebody, it's,
Is there any money like through historical societies or anything like that? for
Yes.
restoration of this?
There are grant funds available. We have actually looked at other grant funding through the Washington State Historical Courts. I mean, it's something along those lines. I might be butchering that. Courthouse?
because
Yeah,
we're in an
okay.
old courthouse.
Yes, and so that's actually our funding, grant funding mechanism if we were to pursue that, but we have to have this, the scope of work has to come and then we will pursue that, most likely.
Fun.
Always. And that's all I had on the facade unless.
recognizing that the building's 100 years old
Mhm.
and those things have stayed up there for 100 years. I guess
Yeah.
it'd be nice if we find it quick and easy to maintain them or keep them there, but yeah.
Look at it that way, that's not bad, really, 100 years.
100
worth
years
of
later.
use. Yeah.
Well, enacting more of a preservation mindset as opposed to a reactionary when things are breaking. And so that's something, we talked about that before. I think Commissioner Farrell brought that up about what are we going to be doing moving forward in assessing those buildings? And I don't think I realized, because this is one of the only buildings with that type of facade that I know of. We have some older ones in Commerce, but anyway, I was in Seattle over the weekend and they had almost the identical facade design and it looks so much better. But like, I don't realize it because you don't have anything to compare it to. And I was like, okay, I think that's what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, kind of a wake up call too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any miscellaneous items, we'll take those now. If not, we'll turn it over to Sean Rowe, Finance Manager for the motor pool budget.
You got lots of papers.
Afternoon, Commissioner Sean Roy, Public Works here. Today, we're here to talk about the motor pool, specifically its allocations. And then it does have a small replacement request and a pretty simple budget associated with it. So we thought we'd just hammer that all out today with you. The first one want to talk about is the sheriff motor pool allocation. The sheriff is a little bit different than the rest of ours, as we originally were doing it as a straight line depreciation through 2020. At that point in time, due to some of the budget spikes we saw, we went to an alternative method to smooth the budget out. Some examples of that, in 2016, it was 855,000. 2017 was 126,000. 2018 was 2.1 million. 2019 was 2.7 million. And then 2020, we were down to 1.6. So there's large fluctuations. So we came up with an alternative method, and that was to do fixed values for different types of vehicles. So for example, we have 47 active sheriff vehicles and then 6 spares. Of that, for the fixed fee, we do a $21,000 replacement that does full replacement of the vehicle over a 5-year period. And then we do a $5,000 maintenance repair annually as well. So the total cost on a per vehicle basis is $26,000. Now for the spares, there's no replacement, it's just the maintenance fees. So after we have funded all of our replacement costs, we may hold a vehicle extra years. And then those extra dollars, we will fund our boats. We have 3 boats, 3 trailers associated with those. We have our admin vehicles. We have some armor vehicles, command posts and some small trailers, things like that. No longer have radios to talk about, so those have been moved off into the sheriff's own fund there. And so that's how we go through that one. Now, the replacement cost is adjusted every time we do upfits. We re-annualize that. So this year we came earlier, talked about the sheriff vehicles. We estimated those would be about $105,000 per vehicle to be a purchase and upfit of those. And then the maintenance, we look back at a 3 to 5 year average, depending on what type of vehicles we're looking at. So that's kind of a short spiel on that one. I feel like we should have some questions on those though.
If, once we meet that reserve and we're funding the boats and the trailers and that's all taken care of, is there any money that we're no longer spending on that stuff? Because trailers don't need much maintenance, as you go through there. Is there any money that's left over? And if so, what do we do with that?
Yeah, so we haven't ran into that yet. Our vehicle replacements do range from 3 years to 8 years. Sometimes we have what I like to call an unexpected early replacement on those. We haven't had many of recently. Our accident funds have been smaller this year. We've only had, I think, 3 collisions of any value. Some of the other unanticipated items we've had were in regard to the Tahoes themselves. The rear ends were susceptible to some structural damage that we had to repair. We had to get some custom skid plates installed on all of those model year Tahoes and newer model years to kind of offset that risk and liability around those. If we were ever to the spot where we're fully funded on everything, we'd come back to the board and say, hey, we don't want the money. This is an annual review. We do this with the sheriff every year. We go through a whole list, talk about the vehicles, their mileage, their uses, what we have expectations on that. And then at that point, the sheriff will come sit with us and we'll talk to the board on those items.
Are we self-insured for these vehicles or do we have an insurance policy?
No, they're self-insured. And that's why I was bringing up the accidents and things like that. So we're having to fund those. We set aside just a small, what I consider a small budget of, I think, $105,000 in general fund that we transfer over to help with repairs, annual repairs or replacements.
I don't want to put any sheriff on the spot, but we have seen a reduction in collisions as of lately.
Can you give us any one name?
No, they know I was having a good time
But
with
I
them.
know Sheriff Brad's driving record. You had Kathy, you provided another sheet and it was like a Excel spreadsheet and it had budget numbers. And I don't know if, I was assuming this was associated to this, like in 24 million, 723, 25 million, 607, anticipated 1,819. Is that number derived through this formula? Am I looking at apples and apples there?
I don't have the sheet in front of me, I'm sorry.
Okay. I was just seeing if it was,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So if we're talking the fund itself, it is completely funded by the departments. The expense side is fairly straightforward. It's all reimbursement to our ER&R or any third-party vendors that we're using to do the work on these vehicles. And then fuel are our main two expenses out of this fund. The revenues, of course, are going to be the departments paying into it and then the interest earnings we have on the reserves that we're holding.
yeah, I think this was, I was just seeing if I was getting the right line item. But you can, I'm sure you'll go over it
Yeah, I'm sorry.
another time. No, that's okay. You're just talking about process today.
Any questions, any more questions on the sheriff before we move on to everyone else?
So on the sheriff's office, what's the average life expectancy we get out of a vehicle?
Usually 5 years is our average.
So out of 47 vehicles, we're replacing between 6 and 10 a year.
This year or 2, next year we're expecting 6. In 2023, I believe we were 7. This year we were 4. We're really looking at every vehicle every year, looking at the mileage, looking at its history of repairs and what kind of condition it's in, trying to make them last as long as we can.
So do we ever basically do minor repairs or something to make them a spare vehicle and then rotate the worst spare vehicle out of the?
Yep, every year. So these 2 that are going to be rotating out for 26 that we approved, we'll put those, usually those will go into the spare if they're a good vehicle, if we, no significant repairs on them. And then the least roadworthy ones we have left, we'll usually rotate out. When we're looking at hand-me-downs, the ones that are not chosen for spares would most likely be hand-me-down to another department of some sort. If it's been a spare, it usually has had enough wear and tear on that it wouldn't be considered for a hand-me-down at that point.
So is 6 the magic number of spares that we're trying to keep?
Yeah, so that was a request previously, in prior years was 5. The sheriffs have seen a need for the 6th one, especially if they're doing a lot of warranty work that takes time to get parts back from the factory. That'll be sitting at the dealership for months at a time.
Okay. Thank you.
So other motor pool participants.
Very good.
We have about 70 vehicles through 15 departments. They range from small SUVs, large passenger vans, work trucks, specialty equipment. They are all done on a straight line depreciation. We recalculate those annually if we have any maintenance dollars that are not spent, if we do have large maintenance that we need to recoup. Depending on the department and their use cases, the maintenance charges range from $600 to $1,500 annually. The biggest cost on those is usually tires. Occasionally, there'll be someone, you get your accidents that happen. One that stands out to me always was a vehicle was driving to a training somewhere. Metal sheet fell off the truck in front of them. And so those are the kind of the larger things we see happen that are not anticipated. My understanding is these are covered under insurance with a $5,000 deductible.
No,
No.
none of our vehicles are covered. Our vehicles are only covered if we cause liability damage to another property or vehicle.
Mm. So once again, self-funded on these, so we'll tap into that insurance fund if we need.
Yep.
We don't see many collisions on this side. We do have some pretty good drivers around town here. One item that I did want to point out is that our ongoing concern is the age of our fleet and our mileage use. Our average vehicle is a 2016 and with about 50,000 miles. We get the average. We have some that are higher, some that are lower. But there's a wide variety, and we're always encouraging the departments to look at their vehicle amounts and their use of them. I do want to call out the health department, tell them great job. The last 2 years, they've been looking at their vehicle usage. They got rid of one in 2025. They're looking at getting rid of another one in 2026 and seeing how they can skim that down and do better with the vehicles they have.
What percentage of those 70 vehicles are we actually using?
So department by department, the age and mileage will vary. My understanding is that they're all being used. Some of them, the effective rate of use may be lower than others. I'm gonna call out building and planning right here because she's in the room. She's got quite a few vehicles, but they are all in consistent use. We're seeing a lot of 2016 vehicles that have 90 to 120,000 miles on them. She's out there having her crew do inspections all the time. Some of the ones that are lower mileage are going to be more internal service-based ones. We have some vans that are from 2008 that have 8,000 miles on them.
Sean, how do you kind of determine the replacement on these? Is it a combination of department, or when they bring it into service to the motor pools, and motor pool look it through and say, hey, maybe we might want to think about moving this one?
It's a combination of everything, when we first bring in the vehicle, we start looking at that life, plan for that. As we get closer to the end of that lifespan, we'll contact the department and see how it's working for them. In 2021, we had a lot of enterprise vehicles come over. In 2016, the county made the choice to lease quite a few vehicles through the enterprise system. We bought out most of those vehicles in 2021. And so those are still in the service, and we started accumulating reserves on those more recently for replacement.
So tell me again, the van with only 8,000 miles on it's how old?
It is it's a 2012 van with 8,000 miles on it.
I wondered what justified buying that thing in the first place.
And we can connect where I don't know if I want to call it a bad department in public here.
8,000 miles in 13 years.
Paint it yellow, rent it out during school season.
There you go. We have a variety different of how they want to participate in the system. Some of them want us just to hold reserves. Some of us want to hold reserves and do maintenance. Some choose to do maintenance themselves through, maybe Jiffy Lube's the best option for them. Some people choose to run their fuel through the motor pool program. Some choose to use their P card. So, we have all kinds of different options available for the different departments.
So are specific vehicles assigned to specific departments, or do they rotate?
Yes, all the vehicles are assigned to specific departments and they keep them at their buildings. So for the admin building, you'll see a lot of white cars. This is where this photo's from on this one. A block over, you'll see a lot of white Escapes and a few Focuses over there.
So they drive their personal car in during the day, then they use this during the day and then drive their personal car?
Yeah, for county business,
Back.
yep.
Okay,
So we've got to have 2 parking spaces.
I know it,
Yeah.
makes you wonder a little bit.
Any other questions on everyone else at motor pool? So just what we anticipate for needs in the future, the 2 patrol vehicles were approved in previous meetings. We've ordered those. Hopefully we'll see those in service by June. For 2027, like we talked about, Sheriff, we review those annually with them. Currently, we're anticipating six new patrol vehicles. We're estimating $630,000 for those. For 2027, we're looking at parks to replace their 2011 3/4 ton diesel. This is their haul truck where they take their tractors and mowers to other parks around the county. It has about 200,000 miles on it right now, so they're really getting the work out of it. And then facilities has an older work truck, a 2006 half ton, and it's getting pretty worn out there, so we're looking to replace that as well. But we'll also come back in for the 2027 review and talk about those in more detail then.
Does this cover, or is like equipment for landfill or for public works and stuff is a different thing?
It will be
Yeah.
different, yeah. So all of our roads equipment will come through ER&R. And then the landfill maintains and operates their
It's all-
equipment separately, yeah.
We're not converting any of those cars over to bikes, right?
Come again?
We're not converting any cars over to bicycles with all these bike lanes.
I haven't had any requests for bicycles.
They're coming.
Electric
bikes,
bikes, electric scooters.
There's a past commissioner that might have liked that, but. Do we carry liability on like our excavators and stuff?
That was I don't know about that.
It's, I was just gonna tell Mike, you got insurance, so I can operate.
I want to watch.
They don't let me touch it either.
Mm. Okay, then the next item that's on the cost allocation is our facilities. And so I wanted to highlight some of the items that are in the facilities cost allocation. Each building has their direct operational cost. They have repairs, they have utilities, they have janitorial, they have supplies, taxes, and fire protection are some of the major categories. In addition to that, we have property insurance that's allocated to every building based upon a square footage. Shelley and I are looking at, can we maybe do that by value of facility? I'm not sure, so we're going to evaluate that and talk about it. Because we do have value information on all of our buildings. So facilities also has, expenses that I would consider their normal overhead type expenses. Their uniforms, their cellular phones, their insurance for their shop, their IT allocation, and their industrial accident allocation, things like that. And their expenses are allocated to all of the buildings, but it's based upon the total direct operational cost of each building. So the buildings that are more expensive to operate, they'll pick up a bigger piece of the facilities overhead. So, for example, Hall of Justice. And then facilities also has labor, and we allocate the labor for all of facilities maintenance and staffing. And that's allocated on a proportionate share, also based upon the total direct operational cost. So the more expensive to operate buildings get a higher portion of the labor. And I think Sean, we talked about it at this point. If you had a good history with your work order system, we might be able to allocate labor based upon a work order system, but yeah,
We're not there yet. We're
We're
still
not
working
there.
towards that.
so. Next slide. So then there are buildings that have shared occupants, shared buildings. And so, on those buildings, we look at the total cost of that building and we calculate a price per square foot. And then, and I just wanted to note on Hall of Justice, when we're looking at the square foot, we do not include any of the areas that are not available for occupancy in the square footage in our calculation. But we calculate a square foot price, and then that's the square foot price that's multiplied by a particular department's square footage that they actually occupy. And that is how we determine the allocation to that department. For the district court, which is unique because their court space is also charged out to the cities as part of that allocation. And so district court square footage, we take their total cost of their square footage, and then we allocate that based upon the court cases to the cities. So the cities that have more court cases get a higher share of district court space. Right now, the portion that gets the highest allocation, of course, is the county, which is about 73%. So it's not a large number that's being allocated to the cities, but that's how we do it, based upon the court cases. And then admin and annex is another building that has shared space, and we combine both of those square footage because a lot of I think their utilities too are shared. And so their expense is on the total of both of those buildings to come up with the square footage cost.
When you use the word shared, are you talking about common areas or like a bathroom that two departments use?
When we do occupancy, I think occupancy is based upon, it has none of the shared space when we're, for example, if we're determining how much to charge. Tracy's in the office, in the audience. So Tracy's square footage for building and planning is only based upon occupancy, not any of the shared space. So the shared, every bit of space though has expense. So everybody's sharing the total expense of that building, but only based upon the occupancy they have.
Occupancy based on the square footage doesn't matter if it's one person or 20 people in that space, it's just the square footage.
Right, it's just the square footage.
Okay.
So you arrive at a number that you need to set aside for a building, and then you divide up the square footage and they all get a piece of that. So then basically everybody's sharing in the shared space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Seems like a fair way to do it.
yeah.
And I don't know if Kathy's touched on this with the board before, but these allocations include no depreciation or reserve on the buildings.
Yeah.
So it's just the operational cost
The
of it.
operational
Just
costs.
operational cost. And then the years that there are repairs, if there's repairs on the building, I believe, so long as they're not capital renovations, things like that, they're not included in the cost allocation either. So the roof for this building that was done is not part of the cost allocation.
We take care of that of our capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a fund set for that. It's just not part of this allocation.
But it's not part of an operational cost.
Because there's no occupancy on the roof.
That we know.
That we know of.
Oh, I hope not.
We know.
Hope not.
We're gonna have to go look now.
See a little tent up there or something.
You need a camera? So. That's it. And facilities budget will be discussed when the rest of public service and public works comes.
All right.
Have we notified the departments of some of the changes that we're making? Has everybody been notified?
Yes, what's interesting is we go ahead and calculate based upon the budget. And we calculate that at the beginning of, part of this budget, how much we're going to bill out potentially, so that we can record revenue and facilities. And that's based upon total budget. And then after, the year is closed, so for example, when 2025 is closed, approximately June of next year, of 2026, we would calculate the actuals, and that's what they actually get a bill for. Yeah, so we wait, and that way there's not a big lag between, between the cost and the billing, so. But I sent everyone, and I think we're going to continue to do that in the budget, that as soon as we calculate the cost allocation, the estimated, we send it to the departments so that they know, so that they can budget for it as an expense. We budget for it as revenue and facilities, and then they have a corresponding expense entry on their budgets.
So essentially, we're retro billing the previous year's numbers into the next year. Am I making sense? We're taking the information we got, the expenses and everything from 2025, and we're
Yeah.
billing that forward into 2026.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a lag, but they are paying for 2025's expense in 2026.
Okay.
Yep, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna have other departments, I think. Well, the next one up is Treasury at 2:30. She's not here yet.